Hey! So in this video we're going to talk about the distortion and inversion of danger and how it shows up in the collective consciousness. Pretty cool stuff. So, narcissists mimic innocence. And what this does to people is when narcissists mimic innocence, we can unconsciously start to associate innocence with danger and narcissism. And this is really fucked up, right? Narcissists, oftentimes their supply are children, very innocent people. And you'll notice when you compare children to narcissists, you can see similarities, but the differences are quite profound. And, we shouldn't downplay the differences between children and narcissists, because narcissists are mimicking children, innocence. And how this affects how we perceive danger is that we start to associate, normal innocent behaviors as, like threats to be like punished and stamped out. And one of these ways is because of emotion. I read something on Facebook. It was a post about like how to identify when someone is going to escalate to physical violence. And one of the signs that this Facebook post had written was crying. If someone starts crying, it's a sign that they're going to be violent. And to me, when I read this, I was like, whoa. It is not right to leave out the nuance there, man. But where this comes from is the kind of masking culture we see in society. And where people are expected to go to work and have this like kind of like blank mask all the time, like always smiling, always pretending to be happy and normal. No one can express anger or normal human emotions. No one is free to express. People are always supposed to be masked. And in some ways you could say that when a masked person starts expressing emotion in the workplace or in an unusual way, it could be a sign of a narcissistic collapse. Like, yeah, I guess, to play devil's advocate there. But this is dangerous, and I'm going to share with you exactly where this comes from. So, narcissists mimic emotion itself. Most narcissistic people, bullies, predators, manipulators, it's all, they mimic emotion. They perform emotion. They're actors. Many of them are extremely numb. They're disconnected from their emotions. Their existence as a narcissist in narcissistic consciousness relies on the suppression of their emotions, right? If they felt guilt and shame, and which are the primary like feelings of those lower states of consciousness, right? Guilt and shame. And if they felt those feelings, it would collapse their false sense of self and their false identity. Additionally, if they felt their feelings, if they showed their feelings, if they expressed their feelings, it would disrupt the control they have over themselves, their false sense of selves, right? A lot of narcissists have this kind of perfectionism attachment where they're attached to this image of being like a perfect person all the time. Like, I'm never sad. And whenever they're vulnerable, what they'll actually do is like project it onto others, right? So if a narcissist feels something like anger and they don't want to deal with it, they will project it onto you and tell you you're angry. Or even if you're working with if you're observing toxic relationships, when one partner feels angry, they might share that the other partner is really angry, but it's really them, and they're not actually they're not taking responsibility for their own vulnerability, because vulnerability to the narcissistic system is a threat to the entire illusion that the narcissistic system relies on. And when I say narcissistic system, I mean any narcissistic system, like families can be a narcissistic system, workplaces can be a narcissistic system, schools can be a narcissistic system, friend groups can be a narcissistic system, and the true vulnerability is a threat to the system. Really, like anything true is a threat to the system. But then you may be wondering, you know, like, I've definitely seen narcissists crying and feeling emotion and being super angry. Like, yes, and this is that mimicry, right? When the narcissist cries, a lot of times it's to manipulate, right? Narcissists do not like vulnerability. So when they're crying, there's always some sort of ulterior motive that they're like trying to manipulate others with. And that's where the danger comes in, right? You know, when narcissists cry, yeah, that is a sign that they might be, you know, plotting something or doing something awful, especially like violent narcissists. There's different kinds of narcissists, right? There's some who are openly violent and aggressive. There's some that are more covert and, you know, care more about their images. But when we're talking about like violent people, yes, crying could be a sign, but it's dangerous to say it always is. You know, a better term for it would be faking emotion to manipulate and harm others is a sign of escalating behavior, right? You know? So, narcissists, I had a really good train of thought. Let me find it. So I wanted to share a story with you to demonstrate this. I went through an experience with a aggressive and violent narcissist, as a healed, boundary setting person. And what I observed was very kind of eye-opening to me, because I got to see kind of the truth of how these people operate. Like, I saw this person in my life go and cry to another individual about something, and then as soon as this person walked past me, they just turned it off. And they kind of had this, whenever they were having their outbursts and their blow-ups, they always had this happiness on their face. And there was always this sense that I could feel, and maybe you felt this too with people, there was always this sense where I could feel of like, something's not right. Like, this person is performing anger, and they look angry, but they do not seem like they're angry. And this is how a lot of narcissists operate, right? Their anger is a tool to manipulate. It's something that can be switched on, and it's something that I don't quite empathize with, in the way that, like, I don't know how to fucking fake cry. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people fake these emotional states. But regardless, so narcissists fake vulnerability. And so, you know, when someone is performing anger to manipulate and harm, you know, it's not the anger or the emotion that is a signal of danger or harm. It is the intentions and the actions taken by the individual. So, you know, narcissists love to scapegoat anyone and anything, right? And they definitely scapegoat emotions like anger, and crying, right? They use the crying as, you know, especially if a narcissist is playing the victim, they use crying as a way to manipulate others into believing them. And how this manipulation works, though, is that underneath the crying is often an energy of malice, dominance, intent to manipulate. And to people with fear in their body, and like, no shame if you still have fear in your body. I had to release a lot of fear, and it was a really difficult process. But when you still have fear in your body, being in the presence of someone in that mode of malice can instantly activate trauma responses and conditionings to fawn and submit to the dominating energy. If your body doesn't trust you to be able to, you know, protect yourself in any other way, oftentimes when someone is engaging in a malicious or dominating energy, what the body will do is fawn, submit, comply. And narcissists kind of have this radar, right? This manipulative radar. They know who malice will work on to manipulate, and they know who will like expose them or see through them when they show their malice. And so I've seen a couple of examples of narcissists kind of showing their dead, masked self, and it's like, whoa. Not dead, I mean, like, you could say it's like dead in the heart, you know, like lacking all human empathy. Like, to me, humanity is about empathy, right? So well, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny. I'm like coping or something. I don't know. I want to keep things a little bit light because like I'm always talking about heavy shit. But so anyways, the distortion of danger. And so there's a couple narratives I usually see online that kind of, the way that I perceive it is these inversions and conditionings kind of flow into social media and stuff as like an indicator of the shadows in the collective consciousness. And one of these, you know, like shadowy kind of narratives is that dark empaths or empaths are dangerous. And I'm not shaming anyone who's like made videos about empaths being dangerous. Like, figures of speeches exist, I know, and there's nuance, but it is kind of risky to say like empaths are dangerous, right? Because true empaths are about as far from dangerous as you can get. As far from dangerous as you can get. Like, true, even awakened empaths who, you know, have integrated their shadow and are able to set boundaries they're not dangerous. And you could say they're dangerous to people who do things wrong and like want to hide things from others, and they're still not dangerous though, because, you know, if someone exposes someone else's danger, they ain't dangerous. That the person, if you are dangerous, you are responsible for the danger, not the empath, right? And but it's very like it's kind of sad because, you know, empathic people are behaving in an energy of truth. A lot of awakened empaths and like superpowered charged empaths, they exist in the energy of truth. Like, truth is your greatest asset when it comes to aligning with God, creator, source, and states of consciousness that are blissful and pure, and you know, guidance and support from the universe. Truth is the mechanism of that. And, you know, one thing about the truth is that people perceive that it's dangerous often, and it ain't. That's the thing. There's all this conditioning that convinces others to associate the truth with the danger. And this can come from families, it can show up in TV shows, in movies, in schools. There's a lot of different places where this conditioning can come from, but the main thing is how narcissists are in a constant state of avoiding the truth. So to a narcissist, expressing your true self, aka like not masking at work or at school or whatever, not masking your energy, is threatening, not to them, but to the illusion that they're living in. The illusion that, because, you know, narcissism is like this, it's like literally like a constant state of avoidance. It's very draining energy to be in. Like constantly having to lie to yourself and do things to keep the illusions intact. And that's the thing about illusions. If you commit to your illusions, you have to, a lot of times people have to bully others and do all these things, because the true energy is where we become pure, where we are pure. Children, innocent people, innocents, are pure, right? And children, when they grow up and become not innocent, that's not a it's not like all children grow up and lose their innocence. It's like people are coerced into believing that their innocence is wrong and believing that the truth is wrong, and joining kind of social hierarchies and social games. Like when we're in middle school or in grade school, we feel this kind of pressure to fit in, and there might be bully teachers or bully kids, and so we learn how to mold ourselves to fit in with the bullies so that we won't be the target. And where that really, I'm going so deep here, but I hope you're following along. Where that really, and also if you have any questions, don't be shy. These videos can attract a lot of strong reactions from people who feel exposed. So if you feel like you want to comment but you're a little bit shy, don't be shy. But what was I saying? So there might be teachers or kids who, okay, so we learn how to mold ourselves. And where this comes from is kind of like when we don't have proper emotional support systems in our home life, you know, we're more likely to mold and conform in our school lives. And yeah, but overall, innocence has nothing to do with danger. You could say that it's a threat, but really, like, innocence isn't a threat to humanity. It's not. And illusions don't really serve people. Like narcissistic illusions and delusions, they don't really serve people. It's not wise to choose narcissistic consciousness, because if you knew what was like on the other road, you wouldn't want to stay in the low vibe. You know what I mean? Like, once you start raising your consciousness and healing, you begin to experience a depth, especially if you've been through a lot. You begin to experience a depth that is profound. Like, the depths of the pain that you've experienced are the depths of love that you can experience. The depths of happiness. And I'm not talking about like fucking bipolar or whatever. I'm talking about, you know, healing and being able to feel really deep, right? When you go deep into yourself and you really like reflect on what's happened to you and all the patterns and dynamics and energies in your life, you're able to access the deeper energies on a positive polarity, right? Because it's not just negative and positive. It's not just negative in your life, right? You begin to, it's like a desired path for many souls, right? Like, the more you go through, the better you can feel, the more depth of feeling that you can have. And that's why people kind of like go around all like kind of like numb, is because when you never went to the depths in yourself, you know, you can't really feel. And true like well-being is about like being able to express emotions in a healthy way. And that's the really funny part is that what's actually dangerous for society and for people is masking. What's actually dangerous is narcissists, right? What's actually dangerous is masking, right? When people mask and they're forced to mask and they suppress their emotions, they go home and they take it out on the loved ones around them. They have all this bottling that bubbles out in like outbursts. And so like that is, feeling emotion is way more safe than not, right? You know, when we suppress our emotions, then our body starts to deteriorate, our mental health starts to deteriorate, and our relationships may start to deteriorate, talking on a collective level. And so what's really, you know, the most dangerous is narcissistic consciousness, right? You know, really, like, when we really think about it, like, living in a delusion, in a grandiose fantasy reality where you're perfect and amazing is dangerous. Like, what that means, like, if when people are capable of just lying to themselves over and over and over and over again, what that means is that, like, they can basically do whatever they want and just lie to themselves. And that's dangerous. Like, lies are way more dangerous than the truth. Way more dangerous than the truth. But it's like easier said than done to like truly believe this, right? To truly trust this, that the truth isn't dangerous. Because there's conditioning, right? When scapegoats speak the truth in the family, there's often punishment, gaslighting, and everyone in the family witnesses, this is what happens to you if you speak the truth. And so we begin to kind of scapegoat the truth in our own minds, right? We scapegoat, oh, the truth is the problem. No, the problem was the people taking those actions, right? Let's put the responsibility back where it deserves, right? You know? The truth isn't dangerous. People who punish truth are dangerous. People who manipulate and gaslight others are dangerous. People who intend to harm others are dangerous. People who intend to harm others and convince themselves they're innocent are dangerous. So, yes. All right. Is that all I wanted to talk about? I think so. Thank you for joining me here today if you made it all the way through. Don't forget to like and let me know what else you'd like to see from me if you want any topics you're like interested in relating to like healing and narcissistic abuse.